Ant-Man, Batman, Superman, Lakers in 5. Shit. That the shit was what like really made it cold.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards left no doubts. And to the guy who was chirping us in the comments, we had a short go out after last episode talking about Anthony Edwards was more motivated to win the series because he was going against LeBron James. We got a troll like we normally do in the comments saying, what are these bozos talking about? Why would you think he doesn't want to just win a championship? Don't ever record again. Like, okay, yeah, Anthony Edwards wants to win a championship. You want to know what the first thing he said in the post-game press conference was? We just beat the greatest player in the world. We just beat the greatest player of all time. So, yes, I do think he was motivated to beat LeBron. And when you walk out of the stadium staying stuff like that, yeah, he had extra motivation for that series.
What in the world is Timberwolves PR letting him go walk around the stadium doing a victory lap? That was so dumb. You do not put your star player in that situation to go do that, unless he had to do it to get to the bus. But I'm assuming they got a better route to get to the bus than that.
Well, at the same time, that's what makes Anthony Edwards who he is.
It does.
He's not your normal, he doesn't have a normal level of decorum. He's just who he is.
But he had security around him, and I'm sure he said something like, I want to go walk out there. But that's dumb. You do not put your star player in it. But like whatever he was saying, you know, but just from a security standpoint, like I'm not putting my best player out in the streets of LA around the stadium to go talk shit. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely asking for trouble. It's a good thing he had security with him. I liked it. I'll be honest. I don't think it was the smartest thing by the Timberwolves to let him go do that, but I love it. That's, you know, I want more. The NBA is cool compared to the NFL because the players are more personable. In the NFL, they're wearing the helmet and you don't see them all that much. And the NBA, it's like they're out there and then they're mixing it up. This is like taking that to another level. This is like if you were to go to a European soccer game. It's like when the game is over, the players are just walking out and they're walking through London or Manchester, wherever, with the rest of the people. Like, this is what that felt like. It felt like he was just one of the people.
It did. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. I loved watching it. Like I reposted on the WSN socials. It was great. But just from a team standpoint, if I'm the team PR person, I'm trying to keep my players safe and not put them in a bad situation, I would not allow them to do that. So I hope there was something said. But it was cool. It was really cool. And I'll say this too. The internet turns on people so quick. We're going to talk about it in terms of Luka Doncic in a minute after we, of course, plug WSN.com. But even for Anthony Edwards, too, he didn't have a great scoring performance, obviously, in the closeout game. Like he did some good things, did some bad things. But people were turning on him after seeing these videos of him talking shit because he didn't have the big scoring night. Like, oh, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. Like, this man, the willpower on him was one of the biggest reasons they beat this Lakers team. Like his attitude, his mentality, like that carries through the whole team, no matter if he's scoring or not.
The internet has no rhyme or reason. There's no consistency. They just like who they like, and they don't like who they don't like. And even the people they do like, they're going to try to find a reason why they're bad. In this case, this guy had 50 points and they lost. Well, he's a stat patter. He had 50 points and they won. Well, he hasn't won a championship yet. This guy underperformed, but his team won a game 7 and he hit the biggest shot. It's like, well, his teammates carried him in the first 3 quarters. People are just miserable. That's all it is. People are just unhappy. And so they're always going to try to find something that went wrong.
Have you noticed, though, that Anthony Edwards is such a lovable, like, heel? I would never think, like, based on his personality, if we're putting together like a WWE wrestling match, Anthony Edwards is obviously going to be the villain. He's the heel of the storyline, but he's so lovable. Like, I just want to watch him. Like, I'm drawn to him and I don't want him to lose, if that makes sense. Like, obviously LeBron and Luka were the baby faces and the heroes of the story, and Anthony Edwards just ended their dreams. But there was so much pleasure. I mean, I know you as a Lakers fan, probably not, but in me betting on the Lakers, it wasn't fun, but I kind of knew the outcome early on after I saw how the series was developing. It was so much fun just watching this villain say, like, I don't look up to anybody. I'm that guy. I'm here, and just dominate the series. It was a blast.
Yeah, and what I really love about it is, again, he's himself. The whole walking outside the stadium, walking through LA might not have been the smartest decision from a team standpoint, but for him and his character, if we will, that's who he is. And he's been consistent to it since the day he got to the NBA. He's always been this trash talker, not disrespectful to his opponents necessarily, but letting them know what's up. He cracks jokes. He's funny. He's got a smile on his face. His off-court personal life aside, because that's not what we're concerned with at this moment. But this is just who he's always been, and he plays the way that Zion Williamson did at Duke, and that's been lost. But Zion was so fun to root for because it was like he was a kid. He was so happy all the time. You could tell he was enjoying himself when he was out there. When I watch Anthony Edwards, they were down 25 points in whatever game that was earlier in the series, and he was smiling and talking shit. Like it's just who he is. He has fun every time he's on the basketball court, and it's authentic. And you can pick that up just watching it on the TV.
This is how you know he's good. He literally came out and said, I want to pay all that child support up front. I don't want anything to do with my kid. And nobody cares. People just love Anthony Edwards, like watching him play. So that's how you know he's good. Because if Tom Brady did that, there'd be hell to pay. Yeah,
it goes to different people set their own standards. If you establish your line of personality, well, you're going to be judged by that. To your point, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, LeBron, Mahomes, maybe these guys who establish themselves as the good guys. Well, once you've set your character as that, you can't become a bad guy. With Anthony Edwards, it's what we expect. It's a little juvenile. It's childish, not always making the polished decision, but he's true to who he is. And again, I'm not defending or anything his off-court personal life, because reality is we're not there for it. We can just talk about what we see on the TV.
Him and Tyreek Hill must be buddies.
They have to be. It's only right.
WSN.com, the World Sports Network, the greatest sports site you're ever going to find. Betting previews, betting promos, content, all that good stuff. Grant, tell the people why they need to check out WSN.com, which is linked in the bio.
Yes, well, if you were at WSN.com, you would have seen my two favorite round one series bets, both of which cashed, Tanner. We had the Clippers Nuggets over 5.5 games. That was a steal. And the Pistons did come through plus 2.5 games in that series, the series spread. So you're going to get a bunch of insightful picks like that from myself, Tanner, a whole team of experts, whether it is game previews, player props, futures picks, all that great stuff. Plus, if you are going to be betting on these NBA playoffs or the MLB or whatever it is, you can get promo codes for sportsbooks, which unlock bonus bets, profit boosts, maybe some parlay insurance bet back stuff type stuff like that. So yeah, go check it out. WSN.com.
WSN.com. Make sure you guys check it out. Also, smash the subscribe button for Ride the Line. We got 2 good shows back to back. A lot of people liking, commenting, sharing, watching. We appreciate that. Keep it going, and let's take this thing to the moon. Today, we're talking about the NBA playoffs. We'll be talking about the NFL coming up, MLB, obviously. Every major sport you want to discuss is right here on Ride the Line. So smash that subscribe button. Grant, we're going to talk about the Knicks very shortly. We're going to talk about Jalen Brunson taking acting classes over at Broadway, the flopper. But before we do that, Luka needs to eat a salad. Get on the treadmill. He needs to get on the treadmill.
Okay, so do you remember when Luka first made his Lakers debut, and then like 2 or 3 weeks later, it looked like he had lost 30 pounds already? You remember that? Like you could see the transformation, the side by side.
That's the internet more, like people grabbing screenshots, I think too.
Well, I noticed it watching him too, and I actually just thought about this because I was watching Jokic not last night, but in Game 5, and I tweeted, "I think this is the skinniest that I've ever seen Jokic." That was like one of the skinniest I'd ever seen Luka, aside from his rookie year. And then when I looked at him, there was just I think it was a shot of him at the free throw line in that elimination game against the Timberwolves. I was like, he looks fat again. I don't know what it was. His face, it's his face that really changes the most. I guess that's just his genetics. He probably carries his fat in his chin, but you could see it. And JJ Redick, this was damning to me, was in the post-game press conference. He says, this summer we need to get in championship shape. Well, Dorian Finney-Smith is in pretty good shape. Jackson Hayes didn't play, but he's pretty lean. Hachimura's in good shape. Austin Reeves in good shape. Don't even need to bring LeBron's name up in this. Who's he talking about? And if he's talking about championship mental shape, I think he would have said the mental part of it, because JJ, as a former podcaster, has a pretty good control of his vocabulary. He says the things he means. So I don't think he was saying we need to sharpen up. We need to anticipate the defensive rotations more. I think he literally meant physical shape. And I will say the best thing that could have ever happened to Luka should have been getting traded to be LeBron's teammate. I'm hoping LeBron puts him through the ringer. I know Luka's married, has kids. I hope he moves in with LeBron for a month this summer. Just learn how to properly physically train yourself this summer. Because I was looking before we started recording here. I wanted to look up the numbers. In the playoffs, in the first quarter, Luka averaged 10.5 points. In the fourth quarter, 4.5 points. During the regular season, first quarter, Luka averaged 10.2 points. Fourth quarter, I think it was 4.2 points. So he always trails off, and that's clearly a reflection of his conditioning.
I wouldn't give Luka a supermax contract. I know he can't get it now, but watching him in this series, I don't think that's a supermax player. I take away the all NBA teams, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about that. Bottom line is he doesn't play an ounce of defense. When schematically, when a team is trying to run through him to get to the hoop, you're not a supermax player, in my opinion, because you need to play both ways to do that. What do you think?
So I heard a lot of outrage on the internet, on TV, and I think a lot of it is overreaction, prisoner of the moment type stuff, which the internet is known for. But I actually am going to steal something from Kendrick Perkins, which I don't know that I'll ever say again in my life, which is that Luka is the worst defensive superstar the game of basketball has ever seen. And that's true. Offensively, he might be the most talented player of all time. Just when you consider everything that he can do. He's certainly in that conversation. Defensively, he doesn't have a hope. And he tries, when he's engaged, he can be okay for a quarter or a half. He can slide his feet well. He's got more weight on him usually than the guards who are attacking him. So he gets in front of them and his weight kind of like absorbs the blow and they have to reset and all that. But he just doesn't have the stamina or really the desire to be in the places that he needs to be in. The blow-bys throughout this series, with him and Austin Reeves, it was too many to count. In game 5 alone, he gave up 41 points. If a player scores 41 points, you're like, wow, that's impressive. If they give up 41 points, it's something that I can't even remember happening before.
When I look at Luka right now, it blows my mind that he can't play defense, because defense is not a skill, in my opinion. Defense is effort. It's how much effort am I willing to give to not allow the guy in front of me to get to the hoop. Obviously, athleticism makes a huge difference. If I'm taking X versus Y and this X is better than Y, chances are X is going to win. But like, it comes down to effort too. And we've seen that with Luka last year in the finals. Turned it up, game 5, right? Like he needed to be that guy in that series. And Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all these players are more athletic than Luka. But the fact of the matter is he was still able to play lockdown defense because of the effort he was putting into it. He doesn't give effort half the time. That's my biggest issue. That's disrespectful to the fans. That's disrespectful to himself, his teammates. It was just embarrassing overall. And then to top it off, the complaining too. After every layup, he's complaining about a foul. He's not running back on the floor half the time. He's sitting there, they're whining. The Timberwolves were in transition. They're already on the attack, and he's not even close to crossing half court yet.
So the only thing I would change up there is that there is skill to defense, but unlike offense, you have to have a certain level of skill to score. Defense, you don't have to have that defensive skill, to your point, to try. Just off of pure effort alone, you can be a solid defender. Austin Reeves is not the most athletic guy in the NBA. He doesn't have amazing defensive instincts, but he does try. Jaden McDaniels, it was like 6 inches taller than him, so he was just shooting over the top of him and getting whatever he wanted. But Austin Reeves does try. He's the Lakers' point of attack defender, so I have to give him that. Luka doesn't try, to a lot of what you're saying. Now, I know a lot of people have said maybe Nico Harrison was right. Maybe the Dallas Mavericks were onto something. Was this disappointing to see? Sure. But I think the Timberwolves are going to win the Western Conference. We'll see how that holds up. The Mavericks were in the NBA Finals a year ago. You pay the type of players who can get you into those positions. If you're going to trade them, which it was unprecedented to do, you have to get a player of like value. And with respect to Anthony Davis is not that guy. When he was with the New Orleans Pelicans, they were either missing the playoffs or out in the first round every single year. The Max Christie throw-in is not going to make that much of a difference. The first round pick, not going to be valuable because the Lakers are going to have a good record. So if we're going to live in this, again, prisoner of the moment type deal and say the Mavs were right, okay, I'll roll with you. The Mavs were right to trade Luka, not for the package they got. They had to get so much more than that. And it looks worse now considering Jokic might be available, Giannis probably available. Embiid, I would assume the Sixers are going to want to move off of him, whether you want to deal with his injuries or not. That's a whole different conversation. But there are players out there better than Anthony Davis who do look available for trade.
I think the Mavericks, if they were healthy, they're in the first round. They're getting out of the play-in. Yeah. So that's one thing. Like, it's hard to judge what Nico Harrison did for this year's team because Kyrie going down doesn't help and all that. But
did you see the conspiracies, involving Kyrie?
No. What was that?
So Kyrie was courtside at that Lakers Timberwolves game, I think 3 weeks after he had his ACL surgery, and he was walking just fine. And people were basically saying, like, it's probably, there's a 99% chance that this is fake, but they were saying, is this some sort of play to get the Mavs a better, I guess, one hand, a better pick in the draft, but then also two, maybe like, is this revenge at the Mavs for blowing up the team without warning everybody? Now Kyrie doesn't want to play. I don't think it's true, but I did just think it was interesting. Kyrie was walking completely fine 3 weeks after ACL surgery.
You don't know how severe the ACL was. Like, you can't, if he got ACL surgery, like, he can't lie to the team. The team is conducting the ACL surgery, right. So that's what makes that conspiracy theory a little harder. I can believe in packing it in. Maybe he's got like a little tear in there. He's like, I could play through it, but I'm not going to. I could believe in that a little more. I think, though, going back to Nico Harrison before we move on here, Nico, if you don't want to pay Luka Doncic to be the face of your franchise, that's fine. If you believe in defense, and he's not going to be a defensive guy, I totally agree with that. If you want to send him out, you didn't get enough for him, number one. I think the biggest mistake that he probably made was saying, and maybe in the latest press conference, I didn't know how much Luka meant to the city. You're obviously going to get backlash with that. Now, Nico Harrison kind of looks like the hero right now. People were actually praising him a little bit. And then you had some people coming in with the take, well, he didn't get enough. But there's very few people now going against Nico Harrison for trading Luka. It's, you got the wrong package, where before it's like, how could you ever trade this franchise player? Now it's the opposition is, you just didn't get enough talent for him. So with that being said, I do think this Lakers performance in the playoffs actually helps Nico Harrison's job outlook moving forward.
I fully agree with that. I do. That doesn't change the fact I still 1,000,000% believe it was the wrong thing to trade Luka at all. You don't trade guys like that, especially not when they're 25 years old.
Unless you don't want to pay him, though. If you don't want to pay him, you got to trade him.
Oh, I understand it, but you have to pay him, is what I'm saying. If you have, I think the worst case scenario is Luka is the 6th best offensive player in NBA history. I think that's the worst case. And when you have someone like that, like, you were in the finals. I don't want that to be lost on anybody. And I said this numerous times after the trade happened, I thought the moves they made in the offseason, specifically getting Quentin Grimes and Klay Thompson, I thought that fixed the issues they had in the finals. Now, whether or not they could replicate that run, okay, we'll wait and see. But let's continue to build our roster around him. There have been bad defenders who have won championships before, and Luka's effort would have made it harder. Sure, like a good example is Steph Curry. Steph Curry he's actually done a remarkable job transforming his body. He's actually very strong now. He holds his own whenever he gets switched on to bigger guys. But if you look at those early finals where they were playing against the Cavs every year, LeBron and Kyrie, what they were doing to Luka, the Timberwolves were doing to Luka, they were doing that to Steph. Come here. Every single play. Come here. Try to guard us. We know you can't. But Steph always tried. That's the one thing I have to give him. With Luka, it will be harder because he doesn't try as hard as that. But if we look back at that Mavs team, when you have Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr., you've got all these guys who all they want to do is defend and fill in those gaps. That's how you can compete for a championship like that. This Lakers team, I think it's important to remember, they were assembled on the fly in the middle of the season. They don't have a center. Like, what if they go to free agency and they get a Nick Claxton or a Miles Turner? Can you imagine if they had somebody to protect the rim, how differently this series goes? Gobert doesn't finish with 27 and 24 in that closeout game. If they get guys who are more like Dorian Finney-Smith mold, like if they get a trade for Cam Johnson somehow, there are a lot of things they can do to rebuild this roster. And with that rebuilt roster, Who knows? Maybe they're in the conference finals. Maybe they're in the finals. So it's just prisoner of the moment stuff for me.
Problem is LeBron's old. We saw that in the series. The LeBron heyday, while he can still turn it up, don't get me wrong, he was fantastic when he was on the floor. And if he didn't have to play every single minute of every single game, he probably would have been a lot more effective down the stretch. But LeBron's getting old. And we saw that he cannot physically compete at the most high level. He's still good enough to be on any NBA roster, but you can't expect the team to run through him down the stretch. It's just not going to happen. So Luka, I don't know whatever heart-to-heart they have to have with him, whatever sit-down has to come. Obviously, the Mavericks tried. They couldn't get through to him. The man needs to get in shape, or this team's not going to be effective.
What I thought was most telling about LeBron is it's not even that he didn't take over late in games. He didn't try to.
No.
And I think that said more than anything else.
He was so happy, and we were talking about this before, but he was so happy the series was over because they knew the outcome. They knew they couldn't come back. If they win, it just forces another game where they got to go get their ass kicked. This was the series where LeBron looked older than you picture LeBron. Everyone's talking 2016, 3-1 comeback, greatest Warriors team ever. And then you have the few comments where he's old now. And now you finally see that based on how the series played out.
Yeah, he was 31 when the 3-1 happened. Now he's 40.
Yeah. So speaking of 3-1 comebacks, Grant, we almost had one. I'm going to call the Knicks Pistons series an almost 3-1 comeback because there were so many times where there were times where the Knicks should have won that game last night, times where the Pistons should have won the game. The Pistons should have been able to close out the game if, the crowd didn't piss off Jalen Brunson with the flopper and then they go on an 11-1 run to finish. But I do personally think if that series got back to New York, I do think the Pistons would have been able to finish it off.
So I picked the Pistons to win that game. I am officially dubbing the Detroit Pistons as the most resilient team in the NBA and the least clutch team in the NBA. Because it was they're going down 15 points in the first quarter every single game. But then they have a fourth quarter lead every single game. And then they lose in just this dramatic fashion. Now, we should not forget, this should be 3-3 going to game 7. That was a foul on Tim Hardaway. Everybody, we talked about it. It's a shame that we're not going to get that game 7 because we deserved it. Listen to the differences between these scores. So game 1, the Knicks win by 11. That's the meltdown game. From there on, Pistons by 6, Knicks by 2, Knicks by 1, Pistons by 3, Knicks by 3. It was the first time since 1981 that we had 4 straight playoff games decided by 4 or fewer points. These teams were inseparable. They were equally just as good as one another. So for a game 7, am I going to say the Pistons would have won? No. Am I going to say the Knicks would have won? No. I think it was truly a 50-50. Probably would have been a 2-point game, and we would have had to have just seen what happened there. Ultimately, the more skilled team won. The Knicks have a better chance of beating the Celtics than the Pistons do, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Knicks or the Celtics are minus 1,000 to win that series, and that's probably the correct odds.
The Knicks only really played great, I think, in the game they won by 2, game 3. That was when everyone was touching the ball. Cat was the leading scorer. It wasn't all on Jalen Brunson. Even last night, I know OG had some points, but Jalen Brunson's the guy down the stretch, and that's the biggest issue, I think, for the Knicks when they're not a balanced team. If you're not balanced, you have no chance of beating Boston. Boston's going to beat you with balance. And if you just take the Jalen Brunson show into TD Garden, it's not going to work out.
And I understand Brunson is sensational. I think it's just terrible, terrible coaching to make him the only guy who's trying to score the ball. What was the point in trading 5 first-round picks for Bridges and these pieces for OG Anunoby and these pieces for Karl Anthony Towns? These are very skilled offensive players. Let's get them more involved. One thing that I think here, let me pull his numbers up because I think this does do a good job illustrating it. But Donovan Mitchell for the Cavaliers. Last year, the Cavaliers went whatever they went. I don't know, won 40-something, 50-something games. They were a 4 seed or a 5 seed, whichever one of those two. Donovan Mitchell averaged 26.5 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 46% from the field, 37% from 3. Good numbers. This year, they have this incredible year. He plays 4 fewer minutes per game, averages 2.5 fewer points, half less rebound, more than 1 less assist, shoots exactly the same from 3, is less efficient from 2, less efficient from the free throw line. So almost a worse year across the board. And the Cavs were one of the best teams in the NBA. This is what happens when you get a good coach who knows how to maximize the talent around him, spread the ball around, and also allow your superstars to pick their spots. Jalen Brunson is putting up the best numbers of the playoffs, yet we look at the Knicks as one of the most disappointing teams. I blame that entirely on Tom Thibodeau. I think he did his job of getting the Knicks from a terrible team to respectable. That's what Tibbs does. He's going to install structure, install order. Now the Knicks, if they're serious about wanting to win a championship, they got to get a new guy in there.
Yeah, well, they ain't going to be Boston because they didn't beat any good teams this year. And I think the Celtics, and we haven't really talked about Celtics much here because it's not worth talking about the Celtics until we get to the Eastern Conference Finals. But when you look at how they're playing, like they didn't even try against the Magic. That second half run against the Magic was how good Boston can be, though. That's how good they can. Like the first half, my buddy texted me. You know, I was like Celtics minus 11.5 in the closeout game, and he was like, "Nah, that's too many points." Halftime, he texts me, and Magic aren't good. Like, let's straight up, they play good defense, they don't score. But he texts me at the half, and he goes, "I told you, it was always Magic. Too many points in a closeout game." And I'm like, they have not made a three, or they made one. I don't even know. They did not make any threes in the first half. Then the second half, they just go off everywhere, and that's how good they can be.
You should never send a text like that about the Celtics, even like in a 6-minute period. You know, if there's 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, they could score 25 points, 30 points in those 6 minutes just because of how hot they can get from three.
I saw a tweet the other day. No, I think you'll like this because you're a big Jason Tatum hater. But
I'm not a Jason Tatum hater.
It was Jason Tatum is finally entering the prime of his career. Like he's always been that guy in my opinion, but he's really like when the game is on the line, Jason Tatum with the ball in his hands, I believe in Jason Tatum 100% of the way now.
I see what you're saying there. The mental side of his game has matured a lot over this last year and a half, 2 years or so. And I think that is now he's still got some demons late in games, as far as like his game tied, go ahead, shot making, whatever. But like the last 3-4 minutes when he was younger, it was like, there's probably a turnover coming here. There's probably a missed shot coming here. You don't feel that way about him anymore.
No, for sure. So I think the Celtics take care of business here. We'll be talking a lot more about the Celtics because the Celtics are the balls. But the better series that I think in the East, it could be one of the best conference semifinal series that we're going into. Cavaliers versus Pacers. The Cavaliers are a heavy favorite. The Pacers beat them 3 times this season. They were 3-1 against them. What is the odds, Grant, 1 to 10, of an upset happening in this series?
Okay, so are we using this in terms of like a betting perspective? If I say 5, is that plus 100?
I guess. No, I just take betting out of it. I just want 1 to 10. What do you think the odds of an upset are?
I'm going to say that there is a 40% chance the Pacers win this series.
Pretty high.
It is very high. It's a lot higher than the odds say it should be.
Yeah.
The Pacers this year. So I'm trying to do some math real quick. I believe that they are 38-15 in 2025, which is remarkable. It's a top 3 record in the NBA during that time. So and the Cavs are also one of those top 3 records. I get that, but we're looking at this, and I'm looking at this game 1 line. I got it right in front of me right now. You got the Cavs favored by 8 points. The Pacers have gotten their time off. It's not just a Cavs thing. They're going to be rested. They have been playing so well. And when I actually look at this series, obviously the Cavaliers have better defensive pieces than the Pacers do. If we're going to call Jared Allen and Miles Turner a wash, then we've got the defensive player of the year, Evan Mobley, against Pascal Siakam or Andrew Nembhard, whoever you want to say is Indiana's second best defender. I don't think that the Pacers have really a chance of slowing the Cavs down. But one thing that I think is going to be so important here, and this kind of leads into a broader conversation, but Tyrese Halliburton, the way I envision this, I don't think Donovan Mitchell's going to guard him. I don't think Darius Garland's going to guard him because they're both 3 to 4 inches shorter than him. I think that means Max Strus is going to have to be playing on him a lot. Now, Mitchell's 6'1", Garland's 6'1". I think you're going to see them shift over to Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith. And I think what's going to happen there is you're just going to see so many mismatches with height and especially some of the off-ball actions. If we have Halliburton over here, and then you got Halliburton here and Max Strus guarding over here, you've got Aaron Nesmith and Pascal Siakam, and they do an off-ball screen. You get a little curl. Now you've got a mismatch. You force a switch. Now you've got, let's say, Darius Garland guarding Pascal Siakam. Tyrese Halliburton is such a good passer that he's going to find that every time. Basically, what I'm saying here is I think this is going to be a super, super high-scoring series. I don't think either team has much of a chance to stop the other's offense, but I think from a Cavs perspective, that's like the worst case scenario because you trust your offense, but you have the defensive player of the year. You have this huge front court with Mobley and Allen. You want to be able to slow the Pacers down, but I think they have to go into every game with the mindset, this is a race to 130. We got to outscore them to win this game.
And those are the worst matchups, as you were saying, for those high scoring teams. Because if, like, for example, if I'm the Celtics, I'm playing against the Magic last series, like they present no problems to me because they can play defense. Our offense is going to trump their defense eventually. They can't score. They can't go on those runs. Teams that can go on runs, very, very dangerous. So I agree with you. I think this can be a high scoring series. And same thing with the Eastern Conference Finals. When the Celtics do, whoever the Celtics ultimately play, let's put it at that. And it should be the Cavs realistically based on the odds. But we're just going to see a lot of high scoring, shootout kind of games, which is fun from a NBA viewership standpoint, at least.
Yeah, you were texting me. I'm so proud of you because when we started our podcast for the first time, what, 4 or 5 years ago? Yeah, you were the MLB guy. You didn't watch NBA at all. You texted me the other day and you're like, this is the most fun I've had watching the NBA ever. And you're right to say that. These games have been awesome.
The Lakers series was really fun to watch, but it was almost like, I think the Lakers Timberwolves series was slightly different too, because you're watching LeBron, you're watching Luka, like they're surviving for 3 quarters. You're like, in the movie, it's like, I don't know, when the climax of the movie happens or whatever, the peak, like the buildups where you think you're at the peak, like that's what you feel like in the second quarter and the third quarter when they're going on their runs. But then the fourth quarter, it's like, the wheels are going to come off. Oh, when are the wheels? Like we knew the script. So I think that was a little more interesting. But these series have been really good. Even the Celtics Magic's games, like something that is not going to be good. They've been pretty fun to watch too.
The Magic were like right there at halftime in 3 of those games.
And how it's going to go down the stretch, but like it was still fun. The Knicks Pistons series last night, like watching that game, that was a lot of fun. The only series I really didn't watch too much, and they were good games, like Pacers Bucks, I just didn't really pay as much attention to that one. The Rockets Warriors series has been fun. Do you think that one's going to go 7 games?
So it's interesting because I think there are a lot of arguments to make both ways. I will say I have ultimate confidence that the Warriors win this series, but win game 6, I really don't know. I'm worried that Jimmy's banged up. Obviously, his mobility is limited. I know he's playing. And Steve Kerr is going to the press conference bitching that the Rockets are slapping at his hand because they know his thumb's injured. So something's going on there. I don't know. That might go 7.
Steve Kerr's a little bitch, Grant.
I really respect Steve Kerr for a lot of the things he says about really off-court things. When it comes to on-court basketball stuff, I think he's just deluded. He talks about the Rockets, it's dirty, and he needs to go to the league office because they're attacking Steph's injured thumb. Yet every time Draymond Green does something that would get a regular person locked in a mental institution, he says, well, we have to remember Draymond is, he's on TV. He's the part that respects the Players Association. And I spoke to him one-on-one in confidence. There was no ill intent in his heart. What are you talking about, Steve Kerr? He's so quick to defend Draymond at every turn. And like when the Rockets fans are chanting F Draymond Green, he's like, well, he's got kids who are watching this game. You've got to think about the effects of that. It's like, I've seen Draymond kick Steven Adams in the balls. I've seen Draymond stomp on Domantas Sabonis. I've seen him punch Yusuf Nurkic, and Steve Kerr was always defending him. They traded Jordan Poole off the team because Draymond couldn't control his anger and sucker punched him. So Steve Kerr off the court, respect. Steve Kerr on the court, shut up.
I hate that argument too. The one about the kids, like that the kids are watching. Like these guys are professional athletes. Like they're going to get chirped. If you don't think your kids can handle it, kid can't watch the game. That's my opinion.
And you know why Draymond Green's getting chirped? Because he's an a-hole. He
Yeah.
deserves to be chirped. He acts like that.
Well, also too, like with Steph with the hand, if you stick tape, if you put one tape, I forget who, it might have been Perk who said this, but like one of the guys on ESPN said this. It's like, and same thing's true, like whatever. If you play sports, you know this. If you've played sports, if you stick tape on one extremity or limb, right, it's a target. So you're putting tape on one hand, and then you got Dylan Brooks across the floor. Like, what do you think? You don't think he's going to go after the hand? Like they're gonna foul. If I'm fouling Steph, if I have to foul Steph, I'm going to foul him hard right where that tape is, because that's the game. We're playing a competitive game. I'm trying to hurt Steph's hand. I'm trying to go in there and slap his hand because I want to win the game.
I complimented Kendrick Perkins earlier, and I'm going to compliment Dylan Brooks. I don't know what kind of Friday this is, but Dylan Brooks said something that was perfect at his press conference. He said, if I sprain my ankle and you see me, I leave the game, go to the locker room, I come back out here, you're going to get me in a pick and roll, and we're going to attack that side. If it's my right ankle, you're going to your left, my right. So I got to defend with my right ankle. That's what in football we see. Quarterback's got a knee brace on. We are coming after that knee. Like you said, it's a wounded animal. When you're a professional athlete playing a contact sport and you spot a weakness, you are going right after it. I know that Draymond does it. I know that Jimmy Butler is doing it. So for Steve Kerr to act like this is some crime against the integrity of the game, it's way too much.
Yeah, you exploit weaknesses. It's no different than Luka playing bad defense. Steph's hand is the same as Luka's playing bad defense. I'm going to exploit it if I can, because that's going to neutralize his performance, which is going to help me win the game. Simple as that.
And
So
and obviously, we're not talking about like being in a scrum and when nobody can see,
No.
grabbing his thumb and trying to break it. But no, like, trying to block a shot, and if he missed, slap his thumb a little bit.
Yeah, no big deal. I mean, if you're going to get a foul, I'd rather hit him there than hit him on the elbow. Hit him on the elbow does me no good. Hit him on the hand, actually, it's a productive foul. And that's just the nature of the beast. So in the West, Grant, let's talk about the outlook here. So if you got Golden State moving on, they're going to play the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the odds are a little disrespectful right now, too. You got OKC minus 175, Boston minus 155 to win the East. But again, that's what the series price is going to be. Boston minus 155, Boston minus 180. Then the Cavs or the Pacers, depending on who it is, in that plus 150 to plus 170 range. But in the West, you already got OKC minus 175. They haven't been tested this season. You're going to go against most likely Denver or LA. I think LA is set up better to beat them. And then you're going to have to go through Minnesota or Golden State. We both think it's going to be Minnesota. I don't know how you get these minus 175 odds, I guess, based on the statistics and how good they've been this season, but they have not been tested yet. And if I was a Thunder fan, knowing how last season's playoffs went, I would be very concerned right now because you got dogs coming after you.
Yeah, so someone who has dabbled in odds making and handicapping, I understand what the computer tells you. And when you consider simply the Thunder had the greatest point differential in the history of the NBA, it's easy to understand why you've seen the odds for individual games and futures odds be so lopsided. The thing is, the Thunder have not been great against the top teams, and the Timberwolves, like you said, there's just something to be said for momentum, which computers are not good for accounting for. There's actually, I was listening to an interview with, don't remember actually who it was, but they were talking about when shooters get hot on the court and you hear the term heat check. Is that a real thing? Does your body actually perform better when it feels like it's in this rhythm? And scientifically, the answer is no. But every player will say when you find that sweet spot, it's like every shot you take feels good. You make more shots. That's what the players say. In the playoffs, it's the same thing. Like you see it with March Madness. That's how these dark horse teams go on these crazy runs. Last year, it was the Mavericks who were a 4 seed or a 5 seed, and they make it to the NBA Finals. What the Timberwolves just did in that first round, they didn't just deserve to beat the Lakers. They deserved to beat them convincingly. That series was, it's funny. I said it was going to be a 5-game series for the Lakers and the games were going to be close. It was the exact opposite. The games were close, but you always knew the Timberwolves were going to pull through in the end. And that's what they did. Now they're going to get some rest. I think the fact that Julius Randle is playing probably the best basketball of his career, you've got the bench depth. Anthony Edwards experienced what it was like to lose in the conference finals last year. Chris Finch is a good coach. You have everything you need to beat the Thunder. So at the worst case, I'm almost looking at this series with the Thunder and Timberwolves. If we are going to get that in the conference finals, I'm almost looking at that as a coin flip. So for them to say it's Thunder minus 175 right now is just totally disrespectful.
I don't think the Timberwolves are going to have any trouble with Golden State.
I don't either. I think it's a 4 or 5 game series.
Yeah, 5. Even if it's 6, I think it's going to be one that you kind of know the outcome there. I think they just beat a better Lakers team than Golden State. And the Lakers had their flaws and they couldn't finish. But I mean, early in those games when the Lakers were giving it to them and like going back and forth with them, that's a good test. And Minnesota handled everything. So I don't know why Minnesota would be 5-1 right now. I'd probably put them more like 3-1 just to save yourself a little bit, because there's going to be some liability. They were 8-1 or 7 plus 750 going into like the last Lakers game, and then they're now down to 5-1 after the Rockets smacked the Warriors in Game 5. So definitely been some movement.
Yeah, and then for their championship odds as well, they are plus 1,700. I think they're plus 2,400 going into that final Lakers game.
See, if I'm betting, like from a betting standpoint, like if I was going to take the Thunder, or not take Thunder, I take the Timberwolves. I took them to win the West at plus 750. I can't take them to win the NBA championship. Too many hurdles to jump through. I think eventually the spark's going to wear out. But when you're getting 5-1, 6-1 to win the West, depending on the book you're using, I would take that more than winning the whole thing. I would rather do that than try to go for plus 2,400 unless you figure you can hedge, but you're not gonna be able to hedge in the finals because you're gonna get the Celtics and then they're gonna be a favorite.
Also, I think it's important to remember, if you're betting a team in a futures market, just bet them one time. Don't take them to win the conference and win the finals. Pick one.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, Grant, what else we got?
Well, I can just share my favorite second round series bet. Now, granted, we don't know all of the series yet. We actually really officially only know one, I think. 1, 2. But I'm going to take the Indiana Pacers. Let me get these odds here. I'm going to take the Indiana Pacers plus 2.5 games in the series. I bet it at minus 130 yesterday. It's down to minus 140. Pretty similar to what I had with the Pistons. I think I bet it at minus 122, and it got up to minus 145. But yeah, the Pacers can play with the Cavs. I'm confident in that, and I will bet them in game 1 as well at plus 8.
So better plan of attack right now based on the current odds, over 5.5 games, minus 115. If you like them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. So, okay. We'll do that.
With the current minus 140, I would just go 5.5.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No, because for it to go 6 games, you need the Pacers to win 2 realistically, and that's a 4-2 finish. So yeah, I like the over 5.5. I'm looking forward to the series. I think my favorite bet probably right now would be Celtics minus 2.5 games. I would think you're going to be 4-1 in that series pretty easily. I don't think it goes 6 games. And if it does, I give the Knicks a lot of credit. But I think if the Knicks beat them one time in 5 tries, that's pretty impressive.
I don't know if I want to bet on a 4-0 or a 4-1 for minus 130. Oh, no.
I get that. The Knicks just haven't been able to beat them. But it also, too, the hard thing is the Celtics know the Knicks can't beat them. So it's like you get in those situations where you could have the dog in you and close out or not. Like realistically, they could have beat the Magic in 4 games. They didn't try, even in the closeout game, they didn't give a shit for the whole first half.
And they were resting players too.
Yeah, they didn't force Drew Holiday back. Jason Tatum was out at times. Realistically, Jaylen Brown shouldn't have played in the series. You just don't know what you're going to get. So that's what makes it hard, competitive series wise. It's probably better going there. I think I'll have a nice little bet in that Timberwolves series when we get the odds for it. Because what do you think you're going to set it at? Like Timberwolves minus 120, Golden State plus 100.
The odds makers love the Warriors. They might favor the Warriors in that series,
because the Warriors were favored to win the West compared to the Timberwolves prior to them losing Game 5.
Yeah, it was. So it was the Thunder, clear and obvious first, Lakers second, Warriors third, might have been Clippers fourth, and Timberwolves fifth, I think.
I would gladly grab Timberwolves series spread, take them to win the series, depending on what it is. But if you can get a nice series spread, like a +1.5, I think that's definitely worth taking. If they show up like they've shown up, obviously you could get the Timberwolves team that shits the bed. Julius Randle doesn't do anything. And, but for the most part, if they have that dog in them, they carry that momentum over. I don't see anyone beating them. I think they can easily handle anything in the West if they play like that.
I'm with you. I said before the playoffs started, the regular season is about your top 10 guys. Playoffs are about your top 7. And I was using this as a discussion point on the Thunder, saying why I wasn't so confident in the Thunder in the playoffs, because I thought they had great depth. Don't know about their top 6, top 7. I said the Lakers, in my opinion, had a better top 7 than the Thunder, and the Timberwolves did. So I'm going to stick by that. I have a lot of confidence in this Timberwolves team.
All right, Grant. Well, Timberwolves all the way. Bet it right now, guys. And that was Ride the Line for Friday, May 2nd.
Friday, May 2nd. What are you doing this weekend?
Red Sox tonight.
Oh, fun.
Birthday party tomorrow. And then probably watch the Red Sox a lot. Basketball and the Red Sox. But the Red Sox been killing me lately. They, I live and die by those games. So the past 3 road trips, they're the past 3 games, the 3 losses on their latest road trip, they blew a 6-0 lead, a 3-0 lead, a 2-0 lead. So it really last night, Vladimir Guerrero shit on a baseball in the 8th inning, which put them down 4-2. They were up 2-1 going into that inning. So it's just a brutal stretch. And now they got to face Joe Ryan tonight. So they'll probably lose. Just been tough.
Did you see that Joe Ryan pitch from a few days ago? The sweeper to the outside?
No.
Oh, that was crazy. It was one of the biggest breaking balls of all time. I'm sure if you just go on Twitter and you search Joe Ryan, it'll pop up.
He's filthy. They'll lose tonight. And then hopefully they win the next 2. But it's because they'll be 17-17. I keep every day because I bet their win total and I bet their playoffs, which definitely invest me more in them. But you look at where they're projected to win 86 games right now, which is right. Their win total was 85.5. They would make the playoffs if they got to 86 under the current projections. But the American League's so bad. If they were in the National League, it'd be over right away.
Yeah. Well, Tanner, that was it for this episode of Ride the Line. We appreciate you all joining us. Before you guys click out of here, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Check back next week to see how the Red Sox are doing. And get in the comments and let us know what are some of your favorite bets for the NBA this weekend. We'll be responding to everybody. That's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. We will catch you all in the next one.